So today we're going to make our own function for this magic 8-ball program that I just started, and it's kind of simple right now. All we're doing is setting an empty string literal to this string called response, and we're just printing out the response. So as you can see, if I run this program, it's going to print out nothing because we set response to nothing. The function that I want to make for this program is going to be called generate response, and it's going to make a response for us that makes sense for what a magic 8-ball would say. And so we're going to put all of this information, the access type, the return type, the name, and the parameter list into the function header. And the function header looks kind of like this. So for this method, main, the access type is public, meaning that any class can use this method. It's static, so if you have a static method, then that's basically saying that the method is not specific to one object of that class. And then the void keyword tells us that it returns nothing. So as you can see here, we have nothing that says return. Otherwise, it would say something like this, return blah blah blah. So yeah, we don't have that because it's void. And that's the name, so it's called main. And this is the parameter list inside these two parentheses. There's only one parameter, it's called args, and it's a string array. So let's start by making the function header for our generate response method. So it's private. We can also make this a static method. The return type comes next, so it's going to return a string to us, and it's called generate response. And we have no parameters, so we're just going to put in an empty set of parentheses, and then a bunch of curly braces follows after that. So whatever goes in here is going to be part of our function called generate response. And right now it's giving us a little error symbol because we're telling it that it's supposed to return a string, but it's not returning a string right now. So to fix this, you can just say return an empty string. We're going to fix this later. So what we first need to do is, since we want it to be like a magic 8-ball, it's going to return a random saying. And one of these sayings could be, it will definitely not happen. Its default return statement is going to be, it will definitely not happen. But we want to generate a random statement, so we're going to have to use a bunch of if and else statements here. So first, let's create a random object. I've already imported java.util.random, so we can use random r, and that's the name of the random object, by the way. So r equals a new random, and what I'm doing here is instantiating a new random object. So we're defining it to be r. We're going to collect an integer from this r, and depending on the value of that integer, we'll set it to be different responses. And you'll see what I mean in a second. So we'll have an int, and let's just call it random num, and it will be generated from r. So we'll use the next int method from r, and what goes in here is now going to be an integer. So let's say 5. So what this is telling it to do is generate a integer from 0 to 4 inclusive. So this returns an int from 0 to 4 inclusive. So it's not going to return a 5 no matter what. So now we can start doing our if and else statements. So if random num is equal to 0, then we can return it will definitely not happen. Else if random num is equal to 1, then we can return something else. And so I'll just go ahead and fill all of this out. Okay, so I went in and put in all of the other else and if statements. So here, if random num is equal to 1, it'll return maybe it will happen. If it's equal to 2, then it's possible. If it's equal to 3, not a chance. And else if it is 4, then it will return definitely. So let's try to call our method now. So we'll call generate response here. And what this is doing is we're calling the generate response function that we defined up here, and it will return one of these 5 items to us, and it's going to assign that item or string to the string called response, and we're just going to print out the response. So let's see this in action. Okay, so this time it says maybe it will happen, but if we run it again, since it randomly generates stuff, it should give us a different thing like this, not a chance. If we run it again, we get it is possible. So you can add more statements to this if you'd like. You can go ahead and have fun with it, but this is just one simple example of making your own functions.